Hi, I'm Marc and welcome to my channel Bookstagramm. Today I have fantasy for you again. The Dwarves by Markus Heitz. And that is definitely a story to enjoy and relax. Dwarves are small, bearded, and they seem to have been born with an axe swinging. But how does a dwarf really live? How does he think and fight? This is the fast-paced story of the brave Tungdil, who in the fight against orcs, ogres and dark elves proves that even the little ones can achieve great things. The salvaged land is threatened by the orcs, trolls and ogres who try to penetrate the land surrounded by mountains via the 5 mountain passes. The 5 dwarf kingdoms, whose inhabitants are tasked with defending these passes, are about to fall. And when the stone gateway, the north pass in the dwarf kingdom of the 5th, and with it the entire tribe falls, the so-called deadland penetrates ever further. Anyone who dies on this ground becomes an undead and stands against his brothers in arms. Meanwhile, the 7 human kingdoms and the 11 kingdom of Alandur are attacked by the Elbe, the dark, cruel relatives of the elves, who founded an empire called Zonbalzur in the north of the country. Only the Magi, it's the Latin for sorcerer, can prevent the advance of the orcs and Elbe with the help of magical barriers. Tungdil Bolofar is a dwarf who knows nothing about his tribe or origin. He grew up as a foundling in the tunnels of the human magus Lot Ionan, from whom he, inter alia, learned to read. When his foster father sends him on an errand to one of his former magic students to bring him a sack of utensils, Tungdil's adventure begins. Because when he doesn't find the student in his dwelling, which is called the Schwarzjoch, in the center of the protected land, he's determined to still do his job and goes on a search. Meanwhile, the 5 Magi and Magi are called by their colleague Nudin to Perista, the capital of his magical kingdom, Leos Nudin, to take part in a refreshment of the magical barriers. This gathering ends fatally for the spellcaster because Nudin turns out to be the traitor and cruelly kills his friends. When the rulers of the human realms learn of it, they raise an army around the magician's capital, where it is located at the center of the magic fields. And they feed the 6 wizarding realms with storms. Meanwhile, Tungdil meets the twin brothers Boindil and Boendal from the tribe of the 2nd and learns of the terrible events and the death of his foster father, Lord Yonan. In the utensils that the magician gave him for his famulus, Tungdil discovers a book that contains the blacksmith's instructions for the fire blade, a powerful weapon that alone is capable of killing the traitor. The twins lead him to the fortress Ogertod, their realm in the south. On the way, the 3 meet Andokai, the last major, and their guardian Jerun, an eerie creature in steel armor. In the realm of the 2nd, Tungdil meets the dying great dwarf king Gundrabur Weishaupt. A tribal gathering is in progress to appoint a successor. And since Gundrabur came from the 2nd and the 3rd are excluded from the meeting as dwarf haters, a great king must now compete from the ranks of the 4th. I know, it sounds very complicated, but it is still very fun to read. And there's only one candidate for the office of the great king, and I don't want to spoil much more, but I want to get you into the story a little bit. And there is the point with the names, I agree. And if I've continued with the summary and the different story paths that are coming together in this one, you probably would be exhausted by just watching this video. And so I just started, and I will not end that path. Of course, dwarves have been an integral part of fantasy since Tolkien's Lord of the Rings. And Markus Heitz's novel is generally regarded as the German answer to Stan Nichols' The Orcs. But this book, The Dwarves, here comes from a German author, as I said, but it is also available in English. That's why I picked it for both channels as well. And that's, of course, good news for you, my English-speaking viewers. Markus Heitz conjures up a wonderful fantasy land with exciting characters and interesting stories. The book is not necessarily civilized, so to speak, but there's a lot to love about as well. Perhaps as I said, the multitude of characters is confusing, but when you have the opportunity to dig even deeper into the story when you read it again. I got Markus Heitz's books quite late, I have to say, but I'm glad I found them. I can really recommend you to start with this book by Markus Heitz if you don't know the author yet. Markus Heitz was born in 1971. He studied German and history. The Saarland native began his unique career with Uldart. His novels about the Dwarves have been translated into numerous languages and have been on the bestseller lists for weeks that time. With the Legends of the Elbe, Markus Heitz took all fans into the worlds of the Dark Elves. There were also many other successful works in the fields of fantasy and science fiction, as well as thrillers. He has also already won the German Fantastic Prize 11 times. And if you'd like to learn something about another exciting book, my next video is right here on the end screen. And don't forget to subscribe to this channel. I'll see you in my next video. Bis gleich.